Welcome to the Santa Cruz Coffee Break. If you're watching on YouTube or listening on Apple Podcast, please follow, hit the like button, or any subscribes. It really helps us with the algorithms. Santa Cruz Coffee Break is produced by the Santa Cruz Guitar Players Forum. All opinions are those of the speakers. We invite you to join us on the Santa Cruz Guitar Players Forum at SCGCPF for more fun. Now, let's get on with this installment of Santa Cruz Coffee Break. We'd like to welcome you all to the 35th edition of our Santa Cruz Guitar Players podcast. And for 2022, we have, as our first one, Mr. Hoover back. Richard, we're joyous to have you here with us, and Happy New Year. And Tad, bring him in.
Yes, so Richard, it's been an amazing end of the year with all kinds of stuff happening. 2022 is looking better, if you can ignore some of the little hiccups we're having at the beginning. Tell us how you and the shop are doing. Did you have a good Christmas, New Year's, et cetera, et cetera?
Yeah, we take the week off from Christmas to New Year's. And for me, that meant I could get some stuff done without being annoyed, by the workaday world. And I was joking about building a barn, painting a house, restoring my truck, but I didn't do any of that, But I did get some nice R&R and some head clearing, and I'm real excited about going forward. We have right now we have a demand that the trade magazines are referring to as like the Beatles playing on Ed Sullivan, what it did to guitar sales. It's like the market is just insane right now, and for us. It doesn't affect us like a larger company that would just scale up, meet demand, and then lay off when times were lean. We just plug along and do our best all the time. So it really doesn't affect how much work we do. We just keep doing what we're doing. And of course, like everybody, we're suffering disruption because of abundance of caution for COVID. We've been really blessed, but also we worked really hard to keep people safe, and we did really, really well. But this Omicron thing is like, so contagious that it is affecting us right now.
I know from my business experience in the past couple of weeks, I don't have a single supplier or a single anybody that I do business with. I mean, even honestly, any of the people I play music with or anybody else that haven't been affected and had downs and outage of work time due to Omicron. Is the shop suffering from that? Are you?
Well, mostly from our caution. The way we have a really nice matrix, if you will, a pretty elaborate program of what we do when somebody's notified of exposure and how we deal with that and how we keep people away and in and out. So it's self-imposed really for us. And that means we're not running at full tilt right now. It didn't sound quite right. We're running as steadily as we can, but we have more absences by design, by holding people out for 5 days or 10 days, getting tests and so forth. So it's just, it's become really what we do. It's how our life is now. But this particular part is a real spike for us.
Yeah. I know you guys are incredibly safety conscious. So, basically, I guess your people are just wearing their masks for some extra time while they're going in and out of the shop and just keeping them on all the time rather than maybe taking them off when they walk through the office.
Would you come and say that to them? We've got a lot of creative young types, and they're they're in the immortal phase, and so they really have to be reminded constantly about I'll do everything I can to put people above profit and look after their little butts while they're at work, but when they're out in the real world, that's really hard. And that's why we have to be so cautious. I've got everybody on programs to get alerts if they've been exposed, to report if they have a roommate or a significant other that has it, and then have them do a quarantine.
Yeah.
And so far, we've been able to do that without let's say, economic injury to them. So there's no motivation for them to like fib about coming into work. And that can't go on forever, but at least that's what we're doing now. And maybe that's a little more complex than you want to hear, but our program's pretty complex.
Yeah.
And we've got, Casper, who you well know is our safety manager, does just a superb job of this stuff. And I'm really grateful for the safety we do have. But man, guitar making is hard. You decide to turn it into a business, that's like a factor of about 20. And then you bring in COVID, and I don't know how we do it, but we do it. Thank you. We're fine.
We're seeing some amazing guitars coming out of the shop.
Oh man, it's a fun time. It is.
Yeah, I don't know where you get the wood, but it's unbelievable.
Well, one thing I'm supremely grateful for here, and I want to pause on this, is I'm at the top of my game. It's always been my desire to be a custom builder. We started that way, but to get through the ebbs and flows of the marketplace, we had to have standard models, and at one point they consumed us, and it took years to get back to the market realizing that the what we have to offer is what nobody else can do or will do. And it's the kind of custom work that you're seeing coming out on Facebook and Instagram. So it's really, really a blast to be working with that stuff at last. And that's been about the last couple of years that our public persona sees that. What happened before, if I can, is we'd make these elaborate custom guitars. They went directly to the store, the customer picked it up, and nobody ever saw it. So before Instagram, people just didn't know what we did. We couldn't run a full page ad in a magazine showing the custom guitars that we built. There wasn't a forum to really make it public. And now these things are seen internationally. It's a good time.
Yeah, they're beautiful. And
yeah, thank you. Oh, the wood supplies, really where this comes from is our food chain is mostly families, mostly personal relationships, and somewhat outside of the mayhem that's going on commercially. But shipping and so forth still is difficult. And we've got wood inventories, prudent reserve that gets us through times that are bad for a while.
Yeah, shipping is a real thing right now.
It is. Yeah. I'm on that other end of it too.
We're at a yeah, you're on both ends of it. Where the world is changing.
It's that we're here.
Yeah.
This is the future that we heard about when we were kids, It's pandemics, political mayhem.
And then one day the door opened and the future was here.
Yeah. Here's to the end times, Clink. Glad
Exactly.
to be here.
Exactly. So talking about wood, let's talk about Moon Spruce.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm there. Thank you.
So we've had some inquiries on the forum about it, and the questions are, how much of this is reality and how much of this is hype, and I think that you're the best person to answer that question. I mean, I've been a believer, but tell us all.
Well, I'm not an expert, but I have firsthand experience, and I also have a policy or values, if you will, to put facts and science above opinion, and that's where I can be of value to you. The real people to talk to about this would be Andrea Florinette at Tonewoods in Burgund, Switzerland, or Rudolf Bachmann, or Revolta, those kind of guys that really live that. So let's go to the Florinettes. Andrea's family has done this for 500 years, continuously. They've harvested spruce, Picea abbeys for both the violin trade and construction. Currently one brother manages the instrument wood, and one brother manages stuff for, window sashes and door frames and that kind of thing. Because when a tree is cut, that one, even within that one tree, it's not all instrument grade spruce by any means. There's a lot of stuff there. So I'm not going to just tear off here and answer all your imagined questions. I'd like you to let me focus a little bit on what the forum people want to know about.
Please. I think that your perspective as a builder and working with this material is I think what people really want to hear is the people who cut it, I'm sure, have their background and experience giving them a direction as to what they want to do and how they perceive it. Musicians will have a perspective from what they hear, but what you offer is the perspective of the builder working with the material and tapping it and comparing it with other materials. And I think that's what the forum would like to hear is tell us about this material and your experience with it.
That's a great way to go about it. I think that'd be the most informative rather than try to second guess what people are wondering. You said, how much of this is physics? My term, how much is this real? How much is it hype? I don't know, but I bet there's a lot of hype out there. Anything that becomes popular develops its own mythology and folklore that go around it, and that's fun stuff. And I love hearing stories, especially the metaphysical, mystical stuff. But that's not what I do. That's not my service to people that want to learn about this. My service would just tell the story. So I'm gonna do the science part of it with a straight face, because some of it I just there is some folklore probably in this. So let's take the florinets. They harvest spruce, from this beautiful alpine region, and they're super careful about the ecology and their methodology in doing that, because it's finite resource. They know that. They've been there for 500 years. And for the particular stuff we're talking about, these are trees that are identified for instrument wood, and they're really old trees. Old growth trees. They have the properties in the first place that would be right for instrument wood. The moon spruce thing, we should start there, by the way. Let me focus. The moon designation from the florinets is they put a stamp on that wood. It's a little quarter moon. And that means it was harvested within that technique or that process of harvesting by phases of the moon. They don't do all their spruce that way. This particular stuff is a high grade instrument wood. So let me go back and focus here. First, they're going to a tree that I'd love to have any of it anytime, whether it was harvested in June, July, or Fresno. It's going to be great stuff. But what they do is they select this tree, and rather than drive a truck in, cut it down, and wreck the environment, they put a big giant spike in the ground down in the valley, and then another one right by the tree that's dropped by helicopter, and they suspend a cable down to the valley floor. They cut the tree and literally lift it up off the ground, and it goes down the cable to the valley where it's processed. So they're not wrecking stuff. That's a pretty expensive process, but it ensures longevity for the resource. So this moon spruce is a tree that's identified as superior to start with. Then it's cut the phase of the moon that would have the least gravitational pull. And let's cut to the quick. The tides in the ocean. When the moon exerts its most force, it pulls the ocean into a hump, and we have a low tide. At its least, the ocean flattens out, and we have a high tide. So that kind of hydraulic effect in a tree that could be like 18 feet wide, it exists. To what degree? That's not why I'm here. But that's the principle behind this. That in harvesting that tree, when the undesirable stuff is at the lowest level of it, the higher level of the tree is going to be something that would, now here I get into speculation rather than science, that would maybe have less resins, get appropriate for tone tonewood quicker. And the violin guys, who are no fools, that go through generations too, that's the stuff that they desire for their best work. And I don't think they're bound by folklore on that. I think that over time, they would find that there's some advantage to that way of harvest. So moon spruce isn't a kind of wood. It's not a kind of tree. It's a science, a science developed ground level, folk science, if you will, of harvesting the best stuff based on the right time and the right phase of the moon and the least undesirable elements in that wood. Was that coherent?
Yeah.
Good. Okay. So that in itself may demystify this for a lot of people. So these guys wouldn't go to that trouble if they didn't think there was a benefit. And if it was hooey, I don't think they would have sustained it for generation after generation after generation. So there's a story behind it. Now, me as the builder, when I can, I go over there and I pick our wood, and I choose the wood for the properties that I know from my experience. I pick it up, I flex it, I look at it, I tap on it. Looks are probably the least of the importance, the quality of sound I'm after. And I'll choose wood from their highest grade, but I also want to see their next grade. Let's say the highest grade for them is AAA. The next one is AA. So can you imagine the difference between the best of AA and the least of AAA? They're the same, right? So I don't have any trouble looking at both of those, and I'll pick out the stuff I know is right for us. The master grade is a neat designation, but for us, it's not that critical. Be master grade that it's right. I'll accept some cosmetic variance in color or something if I can get a superior piece of wood. So let's come to the moon spruce. The moon spruce is at a premium, and there's only so much. And even the master grade, they'll only sell so much to one person per year. So you get into the moon spruce, and even more rarefied. So that's why people pay a lot of money for this. And now I'm gonna say opinion alert here. I'm gonna speculate a little bit. When we buy moon spruce, and we do, we're buying a provenance. That means that this has been quantified and certified, verified by the experts in the field, the Florinette family and the people that work there. They've chosen the right tree. They've cut it at the right time. They processed it with great care. And we can pass that on to the end user, the guitar player, that this is the best of the best. Right? Now, in Santa Cruz style of building, I can't guarantee that's going to be proportionately better sounding guitar based on the price than the one we build them that wasn't moon spruce, but a top I selected. I hope you can get that designation. I'm going to assure that any guitar we're making, people can get our best effort. When it's moon spruce, it's got a lot of panache and everything that I talked about. If it's not moon spruce, it's the best of the best that that we can get. So I'm not trying to sound like a politician and hedge my bets here, but it's almost like the discussion of Brazilian. The fact that a guitar is made of Brazilian doesn't guarantee anything. It's the quality of the Brazilian, the quantity of density, et cetera, that ensures you're going to get those properties that you're paying for, not the name of the wood. So I'm going to pause there.
Well, and it's also the quality of the builder, and that's
amen.
I put up a background, which is a picture of you up in the mountains.
Oh, there we are. That's me and Claudio Pagelli.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's one picture I have of you actually out there. When it comes to picking wood, it's not like you're sitting in an office going through piles of wood. You go out and you inspect things to make sure everything is done well.
Oh, man, I'd like to do that every day. Yeah. Chad, that is at Florinette's in Burgund, Switzerland. And me and Claudio went up there and, did a visit.
Yeah. So
real memorable experience.
And I think that that's one of the important things that probably people should remember is when it comes to materials like moon spruce, you're not relying on some kind of an industry or government stamp or approval or whatever that rates this material. You're relying on the integrity of the supplier and the integrity of the builder, that, you know, this is the material that it's supposed to be. And working with a family that's been harvesting this wood for 500 years has got to be a good feeling when you're buying this material and paying a premium for it.
That's beautiful. Thanks for the translation, Tad. I could have done that a lot quicker, couldn't I? Well, this, you know, you distilled that beautifully, and I thank you for it. And let me just clarify, is that in my advice to an individual builder that can't do what I do, go ahead and buy Moon Spruce. You're assured of a lot of qualification before that wood gets to you. You're going to have your best chance to make an excellent guitar. For me, it's not as important that as Moon Spruce, because I can do what you see in this picture. You know, I can go up to the very, you know, beginning of the food chain and pick the best stuff. So my customers are going to get the best they possibly can, and they, you know, let me say this: they're not going to notice the difference between in a Santa Cruz guitar, generally, of Moon Spruce and non. But for the builder that has to buy kind of blind in the marketplace, why not go through that chain of certification rather than some chain of other luthiers and people giving their opinions?
Well, let me ask you something else. So the Moon Spruce, that is primarily European spruce, right? I mean, German, Italian, Alps.
It's Picea abies, and it grows all over the place. But we do find that the stuff that comes from the Black Forest is different than the stuff that comes from Italy and Switzerland and so forth. And, you know, people think, well, of course, the trees don't recognize international borders. So what's the difference between an Italian and a Swiss spruce? We find that, you know, from the tree, the side of the tree that faces Italy has more vibrancy, flavor, if you will, and the side of the tree that's on the Swiss is a little bit more dry and precise. But let's see where that might come up on a forum somewhere. I'm sorry, that wasn't an opinion alert. That was a silliness alert. Trees don't recognize international borders, but generally speaking, we could say we'll find a difference in those woods. Not good or better. I'm not good or worse. Better or worse, that's the word. But a consistency of the wood.
That makes total sense, because you hear that same kind of feedback when it comes from vintners. They may be growing the exact same species of grape, but depending upon the soil, depending upon the sun, depending upon the water, the quality of the grapes and the quote unquote quality or flavor of the wine is going to be different. So why not with spruce trees? I mean, makes total sense to me.
Sure, that's it.
What I was wondering about is, when it comes to this harvesting technique that gives you this Moon Spruce, is that happening with other species of spruce? Do you find anybody who's harvesting Sitka or I don't know, Engelmann or whatever, are they following some of these same techniques? Is this something that is being adopted by other people who are harvesting tonewoods, or is it just unique to this one area and this one type of material?
Real evocative question. I had never heard of anybody else doing it.
Okay.
Yeah, quite that simply. We've never been offered Sitka or cedar or Engelmann or Adirondack with that. And frankly, if somebody did, I just say, show me the wood. I'll go from there, because again, it's hard to beat 500 years of practice, right?
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to that myself.
Yes, we'll look forward to the 500th anniversary Santa Cruz guitar. That's going to have to be pretty darn special.
No kidding. It'll take some time.
So, I guess I would say if people are out in the process of ordering or buying a guitar, and they are looking at a Moon Spruce versus another spruce, it sounds like what you're saying is judge the guitar for the guitar and don't pay attention to the label.
Well, that, you know what, I'm just not going to stick my neck out there. The world is different than it was, Tad, when we first met. And I can create mayhem by a statement, and I don't want to do that. Okay. So I'm not going to go that far. What I am going to say is that there is value to the Moon Spruce as I described, and it's multi-level in what I talked about there. It's an assurance, it's a provenance. It adds to the value of the instrument possibly in the future. And who knows, somewhere down the line, guitars made out of Moon Spruce may be priceless. I can't say that, so I can't advise somebody it doesn't make a difference by any means. What I'm saying is, like, I'm tooting our horn. I'm saying us as custom builders and luthiers, that the sonic quality of the instrument is paramount as opposed to a factory. We're going to do our best with the best grade of wood. But that doesn't mean that you're not getting a benefit from the Moon Spruce. And again, I'm not trying to sound like a politician, but it's hard in a single conversation to get across all of those subtleties. So I'm really hesitant to make an absolute statement that people would take standalone. I'm chicken.
Well, I will say that if I were having a custom guitar built by you and you chose a piece of spruce for me for my guitar, I would trust that judgment whether it were Moon Spruce or not, and not worry about that label. But that's what I will say for my choices.
Yeah, well, let's do that. People go, well, if I ordered a guitar for Richard, what should I say? I'll say this. Right now, I'm talking to a real dear friend, Tad, and if Tad wanted me to build a guitar and said, I want the European spruce, I want Picea Abbeys, whatever you call it, Italian, let's say, or Swiss, and I want the best thing. In our conversation, if we're having beer talk, I might say, Tad, get Moon Spruce. It's a few $100s based on what you're going to spend on the guitar. It's not that much more, and it's great panache. You'll get some personal satisfaction for being part of that tradition and that legacy, and who knows what value might bring in the future. And the thing is, you'll never regret spending those few $100s, right? But you may regret you didn't do that if everybody's talking about it 10 years from now and you didn't. So there's my qualification on this. And I'm not trying to play both sides of the fence. There are pros and cons in going here. But somebody spending, let's say, 5 figures on a guitar, is a few $100s on the spruce really your deciding factor? So it's not the cost, right? It's all this stuff, and there is an intangible in a guitar that can't be denied. People come to us because we respect their need for a thrill of acquisition, and we believe in it, and let's call it some magic that people come to us for that goes into the instrument and gives them satisfaction and joy, makes them want to pass it on. That's really hard to describe, and it's impossible to quantify. So when we go talking about Moon Spruce, Brazilian, the redwood, I'm working right now, the Klamath, spirit that's like maybe 1,000 years old, man, that's very, very cool stuff. And you really can't argue the scale of quality of sound in that. It's part and parcel of the panache, of the oeuvre, really, of what you're doing when you make this acquisition. Not just a guitar, right?
Right. Well, if it were beer talk, I'd be ordering too. So.
Mama didn't raise no fool. I'm buying you a beer.
Do you do any kind of special designation under the top, like where your signature is or something? Because I just have this real funny vision in my head of a little moon being branded into the wood,
Oh, that's beautiful.
Quarter moon.
I might steal that. Yeah, that's really nice. No, we don't. but that's really evocative. The information's there, but it's all apart from the guitar.
Right.
And that I'm unique. We have this 45,000-year-old cowrie, and the board comes with a stamp. It's a little brand that certifies that this wood is carbon dated at 45,000 years old. And just the other day, I was looking at that, and I went, "Oh man, wouldn't that be cool if that could show on the back of the guitar?" That little brand. And it's only on one piece. So the board may yield 10 cuts, and only one of them is going to have that. But there's something there. Thank you.
Yeah, it'd be funny, and not funny. Wouldn't be.
Yeah, it'd be sweet. Yeah,
You'd kind of. I mean, I don't know if it's a brand that goes onto the headstock or underneath where your signature is or something, but it would be kind of cool to.
Well, the tops that we buy from Florinet or Bachman come with a stamp on them that it's the tree number of the tree cut that season, the year it was cut, the section of the tree it comes from, and they keep reasonably keep somewhat of a library, so you could go and get a piece like that again. And there's also a designation that's like an M for master, or an H for Haselfichte, which is what we call bear claw, and then the quarter moon would designate that, and that would look awesome on a top. But I can't even think of a practical way to process the wood, do what we do, and end up with the original surface, under lacquer. But I'll think about that. That's evocative.
Well, while we're talking about wood, one thing that I've noticed is a number of the really incredible guitars that are coming out of the shop are being made with some domestic hardwoods.
Yeah.
How is that going? Tell us about that.
Well, you see those pictures on maybe Instagram or Facebook of the walnut, and I look at those and go, well, okay, this is a Koa guitar. Wow, that's walnut. And I bought it. I know where it came from. And the thing is, oh man, to say the market is a mystery and fickle is silly. The market is fickle and mysterious. And not too long ago, walnut was considered a what? Walnut. Oh yeah, Martin made a cheap line of walnut, some years back. I think Taylor played with it, but it's not really a tone wood. It really took us to grow to the status and the credibility we are now to be able to introduce these woods as deadly serious tone woods, not a novelty or an alternative for a limited edition. And this walnut is spectacular. It comes from Europe into California, and it's part of what was the commercial walnut growing. The black walnut was used for the trunk of the tree because it's impervious to bugs and decay and things like that. And I grew up right in the middle of that as a kid. And then on top of that is grafted the walnut that bears the nuts and to harvest the crop. And so this resource used to be real plentiful in California. People used to use it for firewood or fence posts, or just bury it because the tree has a productive life, and then it's gone. They either replant new trees or they turn the orchard into a Walmart, and there it goes. So over the years, that's what's happened. The commercial walnuts maybe moved to other countries. People paved it over for a Walmart parking lot, and the material is like getting like hen's teeth. But if you go to the right places, there's an organized cartel that controls this stuff. They know where everything is, where it goes, where it ends up. And of course, it's my job being an ancient luthier to divine this stuff and know who to talk to. So the stuff that we have right now is just like, it's heartbreakingly beautiful, and tone-wise, it's superb. So enough of the hyperbole. Where it falls tonally is let's take the spectrum of bright to dark. On one end we have maple and cocobolo, which are really bright, clear woods. They really showcase your playing style, good separation of notes. And on the other end, maybe we have a fast-growing Indian rosewood that's a warmer, darker tone, great for rhythm, great for the occasional single note accompaniment or vocal accompaniment, but it's warmer, it's more friendly. Right in the middle, we have mahogany and koa, and then with walnut, the California black walnut, we move towards the warm end from there, but not very much. So if you think of that scale of mahogany being right in the middle, this goes a little bit to the left of that towards the warm. And it's absolutely gorgeous. So that, as far as the domestic woods, I assume that's what you're referring to, but I sure ran off with that, didn't I?
No, 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 no. That was exactly what I meant. Was some of the walnut the scene coming out of the shop? The pictures are just amazing, and I think that we should mention at this time to people that just because they have a walnut tree growing in their front yard doesn't mean that they have 2,000 sets of high-end lutherie wood or tonewood there.
Bless them, yeah.
I imagine you're pretty darn selective in the walnut that you actually bring in and use to build with.
That's a really good point. You know what? This would be a really good topic for one of our discussions. I get a solicitation or offer or inquiry, probably almost weekly, either about the walnut tree that great grandfather planted, the Brazilian rosewood piano that's been in the family, or the tabletop, or all those kind of things, and it can happen. But also somebody could find a Stradivarius in their attic, so you can figure the percentages on that. You're right, with the walnut that we're using, what percentages that is of what's available? Some fraction of a percent, maybe.
Yeah, I think it's about the same as my finding a winning lottery ticket on the sidewalk.
Maybe it's a little better than that, but not a lot. A lot. It's now that the stuff we're looking at here is spectacular. Walnut with figure in it is much more available. Plain walnut is really available. So this is what Santa Cruz is all about. Is we're trying to put we let me slow down here. I'm very apparent of how much our guitars cost and how painful it is for people to buy them. But the values we go by, the paradigm is to do the best we can with the best we can get. And it's not our fault that the market or wasteful practices has driven the prices up on this stuff. That's what we do, and that's what's available. And Ted, my lifestyle in the car I drive. We don't get rich from this, by any means, independent of what people think. Ours is a service business. We're doing a thing for people that they can't get elsewhere. We bring a lot of joy in that, and people use these instruments to change the world. So that's the story of this, and the fact that this stuff is so costly is because it's so hard to get. Well, we pay plenty for that, plenty.
I can remember years back trying to get the really figured walnut and attractive walnut. I remember for bowl turning and such, trying to get the graft pieces where you had the black and arrow joined together, and you get that amazing figure where the two woods are trying
feather effect.
It was hard back then. It was expensive back then. And I got to imagine today, with all the orchards that have been bulldozed down or turned into firewood, that finding the really nice stuff has got to be a real pain.
Man, in one generation, this has changed immensely. When I commuted from my hometown to College of Sequoias in Visalia, and it was like 20-mile drive, and the old Highway 198 that went from San Lucas over on 101 all the way up into the Sierras, through the valley, it was lined with black walnut trees. I mean, the whole highway was. They were all scarred. The barks were scarred from getting crashed into. Most of them had reflectors on them, but a two-lane highway lined with that, and they were probably 20 feet apart. All that's gone. It's been harvested. A lot of it went into firewood, but the where we are today is like it's like looking for old coins or something. It's pretty incredible. What will it be like a generation from now? I have no idea. Glad we got in on it when we did.
Yeah, and the scary thing is those trees you're talking about, they grew very large, and they hired people to climb up and pick them. So the trees were allowed to get very large. Nowadays, they're using all automated equipment, so the trees are kept small and squat, and when they get too big or the trunk gets too big, they'll take them out. So we may never see wood like that.
Sure. And that, that stuff that lined the highways was all black walnut. It wasn't grafted. It wasn't planted for harvest. It was planted for some kind of highway beautification or population thinning as people crashed into them. I don't know. But that the trees were allowed to go. And of course, they do have a lifespan. And especially in that environment with cars going by all the time. Yeah. But anyway, I digress. I'm going down memory lane with that one.
Well, I think it was all just a planned thing by the squirrel lobby. So anyway, we should, what do you say, Richard? Do we have anything more that we want to ask Mr. Hoover about, or should we?
And I want to save some of it for some other time, but I really, I think we've added to the folklore food chain.
Sorry. I
think we have, and I think we've also gotten some very straight answers from somebody who's been doing it for a really long time, and not just reading about it on the internet, but doing it every day. And there's where the power and the truth and the energy and the love and the joy comes from, is that daily practice of making the best thing you can make. Wow.
I like that.
Well, we really appreciate your time, Richard. It's a Saturday.
Thank you.
We know that, but it's funny. When we opened it up on when the question came in on the forum, and I think it came in on like Wednesday or something like that, I looked at it and went, well, that might be kind of interesting. And then about 20 minutes later, there's 2 or 3 comments behind it, and I went, I think we should really try and get in touch with you and see if you could run this for us. And you certainly gave us everything we could ask for.
Thank you, Richard. One of the things I really wish I had is the gift of clarity and the ability to speak in a straight line. But a subject like this brings up so much imagery and experience to me that, oftentimes that's why I'm closing my eyes when I talk. I'm trying to collect all this information and to put it into a stream of words. I don't do the best on that, but I hope this was helpful. And especially, as you said, the experience, what I know of the physics behind it, because God knows you can get folklore all you want on the internet.
Oh yeah.
And I think maybe something about the size of a horseshoe, it was a half moon. You could just bake into the tops, so everybody would know that you had a moon spruce top.
I'm not going to forget that, and I'll give you credit.
Maybe make a decal out of it.
Now, yeah, that's very cool.
A peel off
cool.
decal, yeah. Thank you so much.
I'm going to say I am looking forward to getting past this latest Omicron surge and hopefully being able to do one of these podcasts in person at the shop, because it has been forever, and I'm ready for a change. I'm ready to. Yes, but at the same time, I will say whatever it takes. I am glad we had this chance to talk with you, and looking forward to a better 2022 for all of us, and looking forward to more factual background and information from you, Richard.
Yeah.
That's fun. Thanks, you guys. It's always a pleasure to hang with you.
Yeah. Have a great afternoon.
Yeah.
Enjoy yourself. You too.
Okay.
See you soon. Bye-bye.
We hope you enjoyed this installment of the Santa Cruz Coffee Break. For more music-related fun, please join the Santa Cruz Guitar Players Forum at SCGCPF or santacruzguitarplayers.com. If you have any questions or possible podcast topics, please contact us. If you have a product or service that you feel would be of value to our listeners, please consider adding your support and keeping the coffee pot on. Contact us for more information. We ask that you hit the like, follow, bell, or bookmark buttons so we can keep you informed of upcoming podcast episodes. We hope you enjoyed Santa Cruz Coffee Break. Now it's time to go play your guitar.